she was involved with me and my ex-wife, not just my
Oh,
ex-wife.
she like
So
assumed like there's like
that's
this crazy threesome.
yes, it was a wild web that they had both weaved. Wild stories that they told and attempted to keep us from connecting with each other.
Yeah, they don't want you to like know the
Sophics and allies, you're listening to Queer Women Rising. That's women with an X because we are inclusive here. When we hear the stories of queer women who have gone before us, we see evidence that there's nothing we can't do. And yes, we can too. It's time for you to level up in life, in love, and step into your most authentic, abundant reality. You won't be the same after this episode. It's your turn to let go of good for greatness. Your best life is now loading. Let's rise.
Let's rise.
Let's rise.
Let's rise.
Let's rise.
Let's rise.
Queer women. What if I told you that sometimes powerful love stories begin with trauma? I know everyone's like, oh my gosh, don't trauma bond, but I'm going to tell you about Ash and Dawn. They met in 2020 through shared traumatic experience, and their connection turned into something truly transformative. They spent their relationship breaking generational cycles. I think we all can think of things that we would love to change, things that are different than how our parents did it, things that are different than how we've done it in past relationships. And they were able to break these chains and build the safest, most loving relationship either of them had ever had experience. And now they get to experience it in their own marriage. But their journey didn't stop there. They took everything that they've learned and launched Queer Love Academy, where they teach LGBTQ plus couples how to heal past trauma and build those secure, loving relationships that we all dream of. Their work is all about turning insecure attachment styles, guilty, into secure bonds. And I cannot wait to talk to them because as a woman who is getting into a healthy, loving relationship for the first time, I want to know everything I can to prepare for the hard storms in every relationship that inevitably comes in, and make sure that I'm prepared, my partner's prepared to weather the storms and thrive, build a secure bond. We're going to be talking about common mistakes that lesbian couples make, balancing autonomy in lesbian relationships. I know that can be a challenge if you're like me. I like to definitely get enmeshed and how to heal trauma. You don't want to miss this episode. Welcome to the show, Ash and Dawn. Let's get you in. I've been patiently waiting. I'm so pumped. Let's get into it. To the show, Ash and
Hi.
Hi.
It looks like there might be like a tiny delay. Let's see if there's a delay in us chatting.
Yeah. Let's see. We were trying to do this on our laptop and it's not working, so we're switching to our phone.
That's okay. It's so wonderful to see y'all.
It's great to see you
Good
too.
to see you.
Thanks for inviting us over to chat and hang.
It's going to be so much fun. For everyone tuning in live, welcome. I have been admiring this couple, and I'm just so excited to bask in your wisdom today, Ash and Dawn. And anyone listening like on Spotify or Apple, know that you can watch live Wednesdays, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time every single week for Queer Women Rising. So I got to know, like, what's the love story and what is the trauma? I want the tea. For anyone who's never heard your story, let's get into it.
Yeah.
It's a true lesbian love story for sure.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. Can you hear us okay, Sophia?
I can.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Go ahead.
No, I want you
All
to
right,
kick
I'll
us
do
off. Yeah.
Just the gist of it is that we were previously married before. We both had wives, and And during the peak of COVID, our wives at the time connected online and ended up in an affair together. So we were in different states apart, and we ended up really meeting because of this affair that our wives ended up in. So they asked for a divorce exactly on the same day.
Yes.
Same morning.
We had no idea that it was going on for the other when it was happening. We thought it was just our own marriage that was imploding. But yeah.
I'm shook. Have y'all talked about this like a lot publicly, or is it something you don't talk about often? Or
yeah, no, we've talked about it quite a bit publicly, just sharing how we came together and our own, history and our previous relationship and how things kind of evolved and then devolved. But yeah, no, we have our whole story. We spilled all the tea on on our podcast.
What's your show?
Yeah, if you want more details, that's where you can really dive into all the tea and swim in it, if you will.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I have to know, when this all happened, did you have a platform already where you started like sharing this journey, or did you guys develop your platform together after like all the processing?
Yeah, such a good question.
Yeah, my wife and I at the time, my wife was a therapist at the time too. And so we had just started, we had our own podcast called Queer Couples Conversations, where we talk about relationships and our relationship in a way. And so we were just starting something. So that was kind of going, but then everything kind of fell apart. And then when we got together, a year or two in, we decided to launch our own business together.
I love it that you guys do it together, because I love working with my partner too, even though we don't officially do it. We call it our Mastermind Alliance. Brainstorm. Okay, I have to know the tea though, like, how did you know that your partner was cheating? Like, what did that look like? Were you in a happy marriage? Maybe like hear from you, then hear from you, because this sounds like I think I'd be like literally deceased.
Yeah. Man, it's a complicated question, a bit, but, my ex-wife and I, we were together for 7 years and married for 1. The first couple of years of our relationship it was off the heels of me coming out and leaving my, heterosexual marriage with my ex-husband. And so, I lost a lot of community as I entered into that relationship and really clung on to her, even despite some of the really unhealthy relationship behaviors and patterns that in retrospect were really clear in those first couple of years. And I stayed in that relationship, all the way until the end. There were beautiful moments throughout it. I loved her. I still hold love for her. But ultimately, there were a lot of patterns through there that I wish I would have seen sooner and didn't.
So did you know?
Did I know that there was an affair?
Yeah.
No, there was an inkling. So, okay, yes and no. So a friendship had developed from the very beginning. Online. Yeah. And I had become suspicious about what this relationship was between the two of them, and really leaned in and asked questions around it. It feels like there's more happening here. You guys are talking quite a bit. Does she have issues in her marriage, or, are you guys talking about things like that? And I got a lot of pushback around it. You're overthinking, you're jumping to worst case scenario. We are just really, really good friends. Best friends. Yeah. I think Hannah, your ex-wife, had referred to Lauren anyway as like, this is the person I want on my deathbed. And we were like, wow, that's a big statement to say about a friendship. So there were things, that led me anyway to be really suspicious of what was going on. But I was receiving information from my partner, my wife at the time, that it's fine. I was being gaslit, manipulated, all those things. And so it created just a world of confusion for me. That whenever I got out of that marriage and then connected with Dawn finally, and we got the truth from each other about what was really happening, which really confirmed what I was feeling and sensing the whole time. It really helped, like getting to meet you and move through that. But it was really hard, and a lot of healing that I still move through and process. You know, that work isn't linear, so it shows up, you know, at times when you might not even expect it, and you address it and move through it. What would you say? I took a long time answering that. I feel like
you're so cute, just the way you're looking at each other. I'm like, oh my gosh, Dawn's just like my girl, like just like.
I am genuinely obsessed with her. What was the question? Was did we know?
Did you suspect? Was there any prior infidelity, like just suspicions, or this was all just?
No, on my part, no. There had been no infidelity, cheating that I was aware of. I mean, like any couple, there was like tension here and there, but I thought, like, when she woke up, the morning she woke up and said, "Hey, I don't think this is working. I think we should get divorced." Like, I thought she was talking about our business that we were talking about starting. I didn't know it was about the marriage. So I mean, it was like a nightmare. You like wake up and it was coming true. I had no idea. And she ended up saying, "Hey, I really think I need to get away to think about this." And I'm like, "Absolutely. Like, please take your time. Let's make sure you have what you need." And she's like, "I think I might go camping to get away." And it was too cold. So I'm like, "Please let me get you an Airbnb. We'll make sure you have everything you need so you have space." And ended up that I ended up paying for their affair when they met.
Literally 2 days after they both woke up and said, "I'm not sure if we can stay in this marriage anymore." Just 2 days later, they went and had a rendezvous in the next door state.
Little Rock. Yeah. But we didn't know about any of this. So all this is happening, and they come back to their separate homes and say, "Hey, yes, we're doing this." So we all separate. I moved out, Ash moved out, and I had no idea. I thought, man, I must be a terrible partner. At the time, Sophia, I still am pretty bad with technology, but I didn't know on social media that if you look at someone's story, they could see it at the time.
Yeah.
And so
she was looking at my story.
I looked at her story because I had heard about this couple that she was connecting with.
Yeah.
And so she reached out to me on social media and said, "Hey, I think we should talk. My wife asked for a divorce. I heard that yours didn't." And I thought she was the enemy. Like, I had no idea. Anyways, so we put a couple months after the separation, we put the pieces together.
I'll say part of what was so confusing about it was that at the beginning, when I'll say, you know, I found this Facebook group, right? When my ex-wife and I met Hannah, her ex-wife.
I don't think we mentioned what the group was.
Yeah, it was just this was at the beginning of COVID, right? And so we were looking for a way to find connection still, even while we were all, you know, spacing and taking distance. And so we found this support group on Facebook, joined it, to which it looked like a lesbian couple was like, they were the, what's it called?
Like the host?
The host or whatever of the group. Yeah. And I was like, this is really great. And it turns out that Dawn wasn't really involved with that group at all. Like, she was kind of running it on her own. And so my ex-wife, we developed a friendship with her. And Dawn never became a part of that friendship, which I always thought was really strange. And throughout time, you know, Lauren, my ex-wife, and Hannah, they became closer and closer friends within that friendship circle. And Hannah told a story to Dawn that she was involved with me and my ex-wife, not just my ex-wife.
Oh, she like assumed like there's like this crazy threesome.
And that's why Dawn had so much confusion with me. She thought I was the enemy. She thought I was in like romantic relationship. Yeah. it was a wild web that they had both weaved, wild stories that they told and attempted to keep us like from connecting with each other too.
Of course. Yeah, they don't want you to like know the truth of it. Like now, are you guys in a place where you've been able to forgive or like be cordial? Like what does that look like?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have any relationship with them. We have become a brick wall to them on purpose.
Yes.
We wish them well.
Yeah.
You know, what would you say?
It's been a process. There are still times that turn over where I'm like, ooh, I feel kind of angry about that thing I'm remembering right now. Like that feels particularly awful. But I mean, at this point, there's, I know we both have gotten to a place where we can genuinely wish them well. I know at least last I heard they were together still. And so, there's a part of me that's like, you deserve each other. Another part of me that's like I genuinely do wish them both, like, I wish them well. Yeah. Truly. I do. I mean, it's been a long road for sure.
It's really interesting, like an internal experience of like, wow, like I wasn't looking for anything else or anyone else. I felt happy. I loved my wife at the time, but because of that huge mess and it felt very traumatic to us. Like I love our life. I love our marriage. I could have never dreamed of this kind of intimacy and love and connection. Yeah. And I think we wrote to you, like, we've been looking for each other our whole life. And I didn't even know there was this thing in me, this like ache in me that I wouldn't have been able to communicate was like something's missing. Yeah. And Ash says a lot, like, I feel like I've felt you throughout my whole life in different moments of my life. Yeah.
Like in these moments that feel familiar and good to me, and like this knowing of like, oh, that's what safety's like, or that's what softness is like, or being protected feels like, these moments throughout my life where I felt those things, and then you feel like you're woven in. It's really interesting. But
the night that we put the pieces together, that we got, we were text messaging each other on Instagram, and we realized, oh my God, we got fucked over. Like, it's been a game. We hopped on the phone and we talked for like 5 hours or something like that, trying to put all the pieces together because we've been living in chaos.
Yeah. And just like not knowing and like truth being kept from us, and like feeling like, but being told you're crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Or like
I'm familiar here.
All the gaslighting. Hence why we have become the gray rocks with them. But yeah, it's a lot.
But we were on the phone together that night, and her voice, there was something in her voice that was like really drawing, and I was like, oh shit, like this is way too messy. This is not happening. But it just felt like instantly there was this connection. It was so much bigger than the trauma than what we had experienced. I think that was relatable, but
that was a piece of it. Like, wow, I'm connecting with this person who deeply understands the experience that I've just moved through, and I can understand hers, and what a gift it is that we can meet each other in this place. But also just this like deep knowing as well that like there's a much deeper connection here that goes beyond what we're moving through right now. So
beautiful. And like, I know the feeling because I fell in love long distance with my partner. So like the voice thing, it was like, there's this safety in your voice. And like, to this day, it's still like, I don't know, it's just like so comforting. Like even just knowing she's on the phone, there's just a pull to it. Marta's watching live on Instagram, and she says the way they're looking at each other, I'm melted. I agree. I'm like sitting here like, oh my God. Okay, I have to know, when you guys met, how long did it take to have that phone call? Then how long did it take to meet in person? And when you met, were you like organically each other's type, or did you just fall in love based off of like this mutuality, and it didn't matter about type or looks or anything like that?
I can tend to get like what would you say, when I make a decision about something, I'm like all in. Like there was something about Ash as we were talking, and sometimes it feels like we did the Love is Blind kind of route, but within like 3 days or something, I'm like, I want to fly you to Oregon. I can get you here within 12 hours. Like, but we met within a week or so.
Yeah, it was 1 week. Like after we connected on the phone, we got on the phone. Our very first conversation was 5 hours. I mean, it was a wee night. Like it was very late. But and then like a week later, I had expressed like I've always been drawn to Oregon, which is where we live now. But I've always been drawn to come out here and visit and see the land, see the space. And so she was like, you've got to come out here. And I was truly longing to get to see the person, like look this person in the eye who has been going through something so similar to me and who has been moving through pain over the last couple of months. And so like that was just like, I have to see you, I have to meet you. And so she was like, come out. So 1 week later. Yeah. And then do you want to speak to the organic piece of it?
It felt like I feel like we've been together since that first phone call. It's been us. Like there's this knowing, like this deep certainty of knowing that this is it. This is us. Yeah. And finally, I found you. It feels like it was really weird because we would oscillate between so much grief and then also we're creating this connection that feels so right. Yeah. And I was raised a Mormon. And you were really raised, I was really raised to like almost live in this perfection and like, don't be messy, don't be public, and hardly anybody even knew I was getting divorced. Yeah. And not just that, but I'm falling in love like with this incredible human. And so, it was a lot to manage, but the thing we had between us just kept like moving us into our yes, like we're moving towards each other. Yeah.
I will say like moving through that experience of having your world everything crumbles beneath your feet. It's like you have no ground to stand on. And then you start to find yourself again and you start to find your ground you're standing on. And we came together and one of the important things that we did was we created this space of like, hey, we are being drawn to each other. We can recognize this is true. And we don't want to have to break away from that to be able to honor this grief that we're moving through as well. And so we had very clear conversations around like being really clear and upfront and transparent with one another about what we were going through. That when grief came up, like a moment where we missed our ex-wives, like, an anniversary or a special date that came around or whatever it might be, like we need space to be able to process and move through this, and also not just vomit it on each other too, but like in a permission-based way, like, hey, this is coming up. Are you okay if, I share this? And so those were really important things I think we did. And just as we were moving through something really hard, we created space for the hard to be there as well, rather than push that out so we could just be with the excitement and the good of new love, like, which isn't just new love. New love sounds so trite, like, but
she said to me, I don't know why we came up with this, but we were like, she was flying into Bend, Oregon. There was snow. It was just a beautiful evening. And we had said like, okay, no touching for the first 12 hours. Like, let's just slow down. And when she landed, she sent me a text and said, start the clock. And I was like,
so you couldn't even hug.
Oh no, we hugged, but
we were like, no,
we were just being kind of playful, but it was like,
because there was true, like we both picked up on the attraction that was coming through our phone conversations. Yes, it was a week, but I mean, we know how quickly things progress as lesbians.
Like the ultimate U-Haul. Let me just.
Oh my God.
Like it literally is like wife swap. Like I'm hearing a live wife swap episode, like that old TV show.
I actually wanted to name our podcast that.
I was like, too far. Too far. No. No, we've joked about that, but
it
was not a we were not giving permission for the wife swap. We ended up doing it, but
holy moly. Well, thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing that.
Yeah.
And I know like you help couples every day. So like sharing your story, I'm sure some people might think that's like, oh, that's hard because you are the expert, and like sometimes we don't always hear the real life that the experts have to walk through. And like for me, that just makes me want to trust you more because you are willing to share like, hey, life is hard. I mean, we know like freaking Glennon Doyle used to write books about how to survive heterosexual relationships.
Yes. Right? Yeah.
And we love her because of that authenticity. And like I'm straight up honest with people. I have a dating platform for monogamous lesbians, but I started this journey coming out of the closet as bi when I'm obviously a lesbian now. But I came out as bi and tried polyamory and never got very far. Yeah. But I'm first to admit that like these are things that I went through to get to where I am today, to get the clarity that I have. So you guys have gotten so much clarity throughout this process, plus you are coaching women. What so people who they've heard your story, how do we title you? Like, what do you actually do for women? So like as we go forward, they know what you're an expert in, and then I'll get into some questions that I'm genuinely curious about.
Yeah.
Well, we work with queer couples. Yeah. So just a variety of couples that we work with right now. But I'm trained in a psychobiological approach to couples therapy. I was trained by Dr. Stan Tacken. He developed the PAC theory. It's a science-based approach based upon how the brain and body responds to threat and connection. So we all have trauma. We all have attachment wounds. And so he's found a way to actually repair those wounds within a primary relationship. Yeah. So we teach couples how to do that. Because whether you're, anxious, avoidant, reactive, whatever it is, we can actually start healing that in the way we care for each other in conflict, in repair, in reactivity. So we teach couples the skills for that. And Ash, you can share.
My background's in somatic work, and soma is just a Greek word for body. So body-based work. And really I focus in on the nervous system. And this is the biological part of that psychobiological approach that we teach couples, but ultimately teaching them how to build safety between the two of them and security between the two of them. Because if we don't feel like we can be safe with our partner, right, to share things that we have gone through, experiences that we have had, or that we can trust them to show up safely in conflict with us, right? It impacts, foundational things like trust in the relationship. And so this is something that means just everything to us that we have learned from our previous relationships, marriages, and something that we practice in the day-to-day in our own. We have built our relationship upon that foundation, and it's been really healing. I'll speak for myself, for me in particularly, just with my previous trauma and partners not showing up a certain way, or me not being able to show up a certain way in relationship that I wanted to be able to be soft, with her, for example. And so anyway, that's why we do what we do, is to help couples build that between the two of them.
I love it. Now, right now, like the buzzwords are attachment styles. People, there's a lot you could go in depth, but just to give people like something really quick, like, can you just run down like the basics of attachment styles? And you said one that I wasn't that familiar with, which was reactive. So maybe like avoidant, secure, reactive, whatever. The quick rundown.
Reactive is just is not part of the attachment style, but just a brief. Attachment style is developed when we're young, from 0 to 8 years old. We learn as children that whoever is raising us, we look to them to we kind of get an imprint of what we believe relationships are, whether my needs are met, whether I'm met with comfort, touch, connection, food, shelter, or whether it doesn't matter if I cry, nobody's coming. I'll take care of myself. So those attachments, those beliefs we have, we take those into our next primary relationship, right? So whether, and attachment styles, whether you're anxious or avoidant, we know now that they're not personalities.
Right.
People aren't trying to be difficult. So you want to add anything? I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah, I would just say, like, if you identify as someone who leans more like anxious attachment, right? You might notice things like when there is a rupture or noticeable disconnection between you and your partner, you might notice that you want to fix it right away. Like, we got to talk about it. You might get big in some of your mannerisms with your body or your voice. We can't separate right now. We need to fight about this until we figure it out. We got to get to resolution. I want to move toward you to get to safety. And if you identify as more like avoidant, like I lean more avoidant with attachment, the first sign of that disconnection, that conflict, we can go within. We start distancing, right? I find my safety by getting farther from you and retreating, rather than by moving toward you and engaging. And so that's how that can show up in relationship. But Dawn's absolutely right that these are not our personalities. This is not just who you are. This can change, which is part of why we do what we do. We teach couples about this, is because the ways that we're showing up in relationship that we know are really difficult, we know it can shift. We can do it differently. Yeah. I also add, it's not your fault, right? Showing, like, if you lean more avoidant, if you lean more anxious, we develop these patterns from a really young age, like Dawn had mentioned, with our primary caregivers.
Or previous partner.
And previous partners too. It doesn't end at 8 years old, right? We're constantly developing in this way. And so I name, like, it's not your fault, because oftentimes these parts of ourselves are developed when we are really young, when we didn't have a choice to engage in relationship in any other way. It was very much so centered around our survival and our needs being met. But as you start to notice these things as an adult, like, wow, I notice, I lean more anxious, right? Then it becomes something we can be held accountable to. I'm aware of this part of me now, and there's certain things I can do to care for it and show up differently here and not be controlled by it.
Yeah, and the goal is to get to that secure place. Like, what would be the non-negotiable steps that you guys as coaches would be able to say, okay, if you're building a healthy queer relationship, this is what you've got to do.
Yeah.
To even have a chance at secure relationship.
Yeah. Well, the first thing that is non-negotiable, and this is like not Ash and Dawn theory. They've researched this enough that we know now that the foundational piece is that as a couple, we agree that our relationship is the priority. We come first. We know what that looks like in the day-to-day, and that creates a strong sense of security. Also, it helps us decide, make decisions throughout our day-to-day. Most of us, our wounds, whether anxious, avoidant, whatever language you have for it, we're all looking to see if we can depend on the other. Can I trust you? Can I come to you? Will you care? Do you know me what to do when I'm stressed or overwhelmed? And so that's the foundational piece is, can we agree that we are number one and why that benefits us? And then the second thing is, this kind of falls in line with the first, but if our relationship comes first, when we're in distress, when we're in a conflict, when we're misunderstanding each other, that's the priority. And we're going to learn to care and attune to each other based upon trauma, history, upbringing, right? In a way that turns the volume down to the fear, right? Does that make sense? Am I explaining that?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I think you're.
Oh, that's beautiful. What about people who are like, okay, I want to get into a relationship, but I'm not ready to say that that person's priority because I've been through so much trauma. I've made people a priority in the past, and it's like really screwed me over.
Okay, real quick, I need to tell you about WISP, an online healthcare service that is for the girls, gays, theys, and me In fact, for 3 years, they have been a part of my daily regimen. I know many of you listening long to create beautiful, women-loving women relationships. And that, my dears, begins with excellent kitty care. Like, no offense, I don't know about you, but I personally don't want to be at a kitty cat cafe, if you know what I mean, that doesn't provide the freshest dessert for me to lick. So do unto others as you'd have them do unto you, and keep your kitty cat cafe fresh. With Wisp, everything from the consult to receiving meds is done from the comfort of your phone, and the company is proud of being inclusive, cost-effective, and accessible for everyone. Wisp believes that you know your body better than anyone else, which means no more urgent care visits for issues such as UTIs, yeast infections, or STI treatment. You can save so much time not going to in-person appointments or waiting in line at pharmacies. The free shipping will save you so much time. Or same-day pharmacy pickup can have you feeling better faster. Before Wisp, I was prone to getting BV, but my kitty pH balance stays perfect. Chef's kiss now that I am on a consistent probiotic regimen. Ladies, this is so important. Personally, I subscribe monthly to Wisp Probiotics, Sexy Time Lube, and OMG Cream. It's like female Viagra. I also get D-mannose and boric acid vaginal suppositories as needed, so I'm prepared if something starts to fill off down there. Also, if you're about to meet a new partner from my lesbian dating platform, you definitely want to be tested before sleeping with someone new. You can order discreet online testing from your bed before you jump into bed. Go to the link in the show notes to learn more, or go to hellowisp.com and use my code SOPHIA for 15% off. That's code SOPHIA, SOPHIA, for 15% off all your kitty needs. You're welcome. Okay, back to the show.
Like, I'm not ready to say that they're number one.
Yeah.
And that is honestly something that I have struggled with
Yeah.
because of past. Like, I'm like, my business comes first, my priorities, family, blah, blah, blah. And then my partner. And that is like not fair.
Yeah.
I'm like well aware it's not fair.
Yeah.
It's not that I want to date other people ever, but I want her to know, like, you are a priority when it comes to relationship.
Yeah.
And so that's like something that I struggle with because she deserves to feel important.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like, what do you say to that? Like, that is getting raw and real and vulnerable right now.
Well,
Yeah.
no, and I appreciate you opening up and sharing that. I just want to speak to this piece on, you know, when we're not ready to make somebody the priority in our life outside of ourselves, or whatever it is that's on our plate right now. What I want to say is, when we are first entering into relationship with people, it makes a lot of sense that that time is being spent knowing, can I trust you, right? What do you like when conflict shows up? Like, how do you move through that? How do you manage it? And so we don't hop into relationship and immediately start making that person top priority. It's backwards, right? Saying, I'm going to give you full trust no matter what. That's how, I mean, it's not very healthy, right? And so it takes time to build up, like, can I trust you? Are you somebody who I want to do this long-term thing with, that I want to move through conflict with? And when we start entering into the, like, that area where we start seeing each other as more permanent, right? I'm taking you in more so as family now. Like, you're not just this person I'm seeing, you're this person who I'm starting to build a life with, right? I think it's important that we start getting curious around, you know, how we could benefit too from entering into a two-person system where we are prioritizing the relationship as number one. How do we benefit from that versus just putting myself first and living in a one-person system where we just coexist together, right?
Yeah.
And so one thing I would say to that is, when we're intentionally wanting to move into a two-person system, one of the benefits is, you know, that in that system, this person has your back. They have my best interest in mind, and I have theirs in mind. It helps us build trust with one another, and it literally lowers the stress load that we carry with us through the day-to-day. To know that, hey, I'm cared for, someone has my back, someone's considering me, thinking about me. I don't have to work so hard to make sure that I'm okay.
Yeah, no.
So,
and like I crave that like
yeah.
security feeling. I'm so scared to surrender to it because of past stuff or like what you guys went through, right? Like you're surrendered in relationship. You're assuming the person has your best
Yeah.
interest.
Yeah.
And it's like a catch-22 because truly I believe what you're saying. In order for a relationship to get to that secure place, you have to believe that person has your best interest at heart.
Yeah.
So it's like how much time passes, or do you have like those moments where you guys just like you met each other and like you just have this knowing that person is worth my trust, and then like because I've had that and I have those moments and then I have memories of past things and I freak out and like I feel like I know I'm like really processing in the moment. And I think it's important to be vulnerable about that so people don't just assume like everyone has a perfect relationship because you don't.
No.
Yeah. That's something that we really try to communicate to the world in our content. Like we're in it. We're doing this. We're practicing this. Relationships are such a risk and they're so conditional. And that's why they're so fucking scary, you know? But, you know, first of all, Sophia, I feel like I'm so sorry for what you've gone through there's a reason why you do your business. There's a reason why, you know, you're in this position. But to me, that's like your brain has a job to do and it's to keep you alive and safe. And so the closer you get with your partner, sometimes it can make us feel more unsettled because it's reminding you, hey, remember the last time you trusted someone and it didn't go so well?
Yes.
Especially when I'm having someone who's like, I want to give you every bit of security that you've ever wanted.
Yeah.
Like, that scares me because guess what? You do that and it can all be taken away.
Yes.
Like,
the stakes now are higher.
Way higher than having the last asshole I was with not want to be in that community, not want to live together, want to be able to not show me on social media, so make it easier to talk to. You get what I'm saying? Like,
Oh.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think any partner that you choose or take this risk with, it's going to be same risk involved, but you just have to decide, are you the one I want to do it with? Are you the one I want to take this risk with? And try again.
And noticing like meanwhile we're looking for cues from them of like, can I trust you? Like, I mean, little things like, are you listening to me while I'm talking to you? Or if I give you feedback on this, you know, that this thing really matters to me, are you able to respond to that? Or are you directly move into defensiveness and things like that? Like we get cues early on that let us know, do I want to keep moving toward this or step away from it? But particularly, are you willing to do this differently so that we can have a really beautiful relationship, so that we can grow in safety and security with one another?
One thing that I'll finish with this piece with this, that like once we're with our partner for a period of time, sometimes we can get into these places where we are auditioning our partner for a role they're already playing.
Oh, that's good.
So it's like, I don't know if I'm going to be all in with, like our lives are integrated or we know we're each other's person and we're still looking for like, I don't know if you're quite right, if I could be happier, or I don't know if I like the way you do this. And so that's something to just be mindful of the longer you're in relationship.
Yeah. And like actually stopping and being like, no, I'm all in with somebody. I don't think people do that enough nowadays. Obviously, you guys were a victim to that. But like being all in and like committed to keeping your relationship spicy. But that is one thing, like as you're sharing all this, I'm able to go, oh my gosh, no, she absolutely does continue to like give me those secure reasons. And so like it's exactly what I needed to hear, like the little kick in the butt. Oh my gosh. After you've worked with so many couples, like what's the one skill that you come back to where you're like, okay, like you need to be able to do this to build the secure relationship? Is there one thing?
I mean, repair. Absolutely. It's repair. You have to be able to repair, error correct, and do it early and often, every time, all the time. It is the number one skill. that we want couples to be incredible at. Because if you're good at repairing, conflict isn't so scary. And so you can move in and out of loaded topics and you're not afraid of it because we know how to care for each other. And we know that it's not going to take over the day or impact our security.
That makes
conflict is going to come up. You know, we bump into some couples that are like, we don't want to have it. Like we don't want to, you know, fight with each other. And the issue is not the conflict. We will conflict, right? The issue is thinking that we shouldn't have to conflict, right? But we're going to do it. And so how do we get really good at it? And how do we come back and repair that? And you could be the most compatible couple, but if you don't know how to repair, over time, what you'll see is that resentment starts to build. We'll have repeated conflicts over the same topic, right? It's like we just can't seem to get past it. These are cues and signals that will let you know or point you in the direction of, hey, we haven't repaired here. We may have done Band-Aids. We may have said, I'm sorry, you know, I won't do that again, which don't tell your partner you just won't do that again because you're a human being. We are more likely to repeat something than not. So rather than, I'm not going to do that again, what are we going to put in place so that we do it differently next time? Knowing that we are human beings, right? And we are going to more than likely repeat some of these things. That we do turn toward our own self-best interest, right? Instinctively, that's what we do. So what helps us turn back toward each other and do this differently? And so teaching couples how to repair and how to do it early and often is it's paramount.
One of the skills that we'll teach a couple specifically is how, excuse me, I've been doing a lot of calls lately, how to repair within an hour or less. It's really important that for more avoidant people, that's terrifying, but ultimately it benefits them. So what we find is like anything outside of that time frame, it starts to go into our long-term memory. And now we're on the lookout for it. We're like, there it is. Where's it coming? Like, you know, more hypervigilant. So
we begin anticipating our partner not showing up for us in those moments or the disconnection. And so doesn't serve us in that sense, right? Where now we're looking for our partner to be the bad guy.
That makes so much sense. And also, like, beyond having a lesbian dating platform, I help lesbians with branding. And I'm always telling them, what's your time to value duration that you can, in integrity, promise someone with your offer? And this is so good. Like, for people to hear from you, I've confidently helped couples be able to do this in an hour or less. Like, sounds insane to someone who's like, I have literally had the same argument 20 nights in a row. No one's going to bed happy. You can do that. You are a miracle worker. Like, let's work together right now. So, guys, that's my plug for them. If they want to learn how to do that and hire you to do that, like, what does that look like? Is that a one-on-one call?
Oh, I love that. So we have a couple options for that. Do you want to go into that?
Oh, well,
how to like work with us if people wanted to?
Right now, we have so many couples reaching out. We just can't show up at the level we want to with private care. So we actually are just launching a course with all, like, everything we do is skilled based using this science-based approach. So we have a class that we're offering, a course, and we have a queer couples workbook, and you're learning the skills and the tools with your partner with live support every month. And as you're doing this, you can apply to work with us, but we need you to know the material so we can get more effective work. We do still take on private couples, but there's just such a high demand right now that we had to come up with another resource to support everybody.
Well, we want everyone to have access to this. It's I mean, especially like we serve the queer community. That's who we want. Like, we want to get this out. We want to get to everybody, but queer couples specifically, because they often did not get that kind of care around relationship. Not just queer couples, though, queer individuals, but people in general. We don't have many of us don't have people to look to or point to and say, oh, that's the kind of relationship that I want. We have models for, like, that's my favorite artist, or like, you know, musician or whatever. But when it comes to like being able to point to models who you want to like model after. It's harder.
Yeah,
so we want to
guys, and we got Glennon and Abby, and that's about it that I know.
What's that?
Got you guys and Glennon and Abby, and then hopefully one day me and my partner. But that's
Gosh, yeah. I mean, it's an everyday thing that we work on for sure.
Ooh, that's a good question from Lala. Would you recommend your course for singles?
Oh, ooh, absolutely.
Yes, I think it would be. Yeah, it's really like there's a ton of self-reflection and different activities to move through. Some as a couple, but doesn't mean you can't do it on your own. There's a lot of stuff for individuals too in there. So
the main thing that we want to do is let's take away the guessing game of what do I do? What do I say? How do I show up?
Yes.
Like, none of us are taught how to do this. And it's one of the most important things in life is to be in a healthy, secure relationship. We see the impact on our health, our longevity of life, how we show up for our kids, our work. When this is off, it impacts, it's like a ripple effect. And so to me, it's like a hemorrhage in the body. Like you have to stop the bleed. We have to find a way to care for this. And so that's what I want to resource couples, singles with, you know, is it doesn't have to be so hard. Like,
it can be hard, but it doesn't have to stay that way.
But okay, so many people, Sophia, so many people are like, why can't we get back to the honeymoon phase? Why can't we get back to the way it was? We used to have so much sex. We used to never fight. And that's not reality. I mean, I want people's relationship, it can get better and deeper and more connected. The honeymoon phase is when I start hearing that cycle, like I know we need to care, do some.
The honeymoon phase is the chemically induced like love phase that we're in, and it's beautiful and it's amazing. And we love that. But when we're looking to get back to somewhere, I think what we really want is, hey, let's create something new. Like let's create a new relationship that we can step into that we both really want to be in, and that we are intentionally building out, not just kind of falling into, if that makes sense.
That's good. I got another question for you guys. Sam Jewel says, do you have any courses or guidance for people who just came out queer as a couple who doesn't have a huge support system? What support we do have could be worse, but definitely isn't perfect.
Yeah. I think the course, it's called Queer Love Essentials, will address that exactly, because number one, if we don't have support, it's going to isolate us. And sometimes we can move quicker because of that or come into more struggle. So as a couple, we teach you, like, how do we set up agreements and boundaries? So we teach other people how we want to be treated. How are we going to protect this relationship and care for it? And a lot of times we end up trying to make sure everybody else is comfortable, regardless of how it impacts us. So we like guide you through step by step how to set this up and how to manage non-affirming family and friends as a couple.
So great. Good. Yeah. I like can relate to, I mean, not now because I have like mostly affirming family, but like in the past, like my heart goes out to you, Sam Joel, because I know what it's like to just come out. Like the first time my dad called my girlfriend at the time, my girlfriend, rather than just my friend, like introduced her to someone that way. Like I broke down crying so happy. It was just like, wow, like it was just huge moment. So I pray that you end up getting that support. But yeah, I definitely would recommend getting into the course, because not only is it a course, you have those live calls where they get that community, right?
Once a month we'll do live calls. So with the course, you get lifetime access to it. As long as it's running, you get access to the course, anything that we add or update. But the live calls as well, which allows you to join with other people who are moving through very similar things as you. They have similar questions or similar goals, dynamics showing up. So we learn from each other, and we can really heal in that community space, right? Where we're reflected in one another.
And then once you're in the course, you can work with us privately as things come up, as you're going through the material. we can work with you one-on-one if there's a certain area you're getting stuck in.
Yeah, there'll be an option if you want to add that on.
Yeah.
That you can.
I love it. That's how it is with my clients too. Like if you want to do a one-on-one, you need to be like in the program.
Yeah.
So good. Lala says, I feel like completing your course should be a prereq for dating. I agree. I agree.
You know, being on this side of it, I agree with you, Lala.
Because it's not easy, and like I have the most conscious partner,
Yeah.
and I thought like I've done all the work, but I still see like my past traumas coming up.
Yeah.
And I wanna give her the best me. So I love it. I know you guys work with people who have been through trauma, who are getting into healthy relationships. Like what does that look like day to day? That'll probably be my last question is like, how do you help someone who really like me has good intentions and is like, I don't want these traumas to affect my partnership now that is healthy.
Yeah.
It will.
Yeah.
And that's okay. There has to be this awareness between the two of you where you can realize, hey, I didn't cause these traumas, but I'm going to learn how to care for them. And we're going to do it together. We're committed to care for each other because we know if we do, we can start healing and repairing and create a relationship that we should have had, that our mom should have provided or our partner should have provided. We're going to offer that to each other.
Yeah.
And it's a day-to-day practice around creating rituals of connection, not waiting for date night or for a weekend away or for a big fight to make us feel more connected. It's how are we every day going to tune and care for each other and accept, like, I think at the altar, we should say, like, I accept you as my burden. Like,
Truly.
Dang, that's deep.
We are each other's burdens that we are choosing to carry, that we are choosing to care for, to nourish, I mean, we can do so much work on our own. Before we got into, like, officially got into relationship, I kept telling Dawn, I was like, I have so many parts of myself that I need to heal before I can enter in with anybody. And, you know, I'm scared to death I'm going to wind up in a relationship again with a narcissist or with somebody who's, you know, not healthy, and I'm not going to see the signs. And something that, I mean, I could start seeing in her that she was on board to do the work, right? Within herself and within relationship with another. You can do a lot on your own. There's a lot of healing you can do just through your own therapy, coaching, self-help, whatever it might be. But it's different when you bump into that person you're in a relationship with, and those things actually get activated within you, right? Because I am now with somebody who has a reference point for me back to family. And so it's in a real way going to bump up into those areas. And
the first year we were together, Ash, I could tell she was frustrated with me, but she wasn't telling me. She was kind of being quiet, and she's not a very loud, expressive person. And I pulled like her over and I said, hey, are you doing okay? And she's like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm doing fine. And I just said, like, you're allowed to be frustrated with me. Like, there's not going to be any punishment or consequences. Like, there's space for you to be upset. But I mean, those are just small little moments that create a new narrative, like create new rewiring in our brain. We're like, oh,
I was used to in relationship that when something came up that I felt upset, offended, hurt, you don't take that to your partner. You just deal with it. You manage it. Like, is it overwhelming your day right now? No. Okay, then you can manage it on your own. But the thing is that over time it causes just major disconnection between the couple, and resentment builds up. Before you know it, I can't stand you around this particular thing, and I might not fully understand why, right? And so when she met me in that moment to say, you know, you're allowed to be upset with me. Sophia, I am not kidding you when I say there was a shift in my body. It felt like something unlocked, something softened, that realized that's not the response I expected. And yet it feels just so healing and helpful for me to lean into her. And so I was able to respond and be like, yeah, I am mad right now. And this is why I'm mad at you.
Now it's no problem.
But it was a big, big moment for us. And
That's so good.
That's where those moments are met. We bring our trauma, we bring our baggage, we bring our history. And the more you can accept this about yourself and then your partner, whether it's your current partner or your future partner, the more you're going to set yourselves up to be able to move toward that secure space with each other, because we're aware that it's here and we're keeping space for it.
That's so good. Yeah, it just, your story made me think about this thing that I went through like 2 weeks ago with my partner, where she said something that really reminded me of like this trauma that I had with my dad when I was younger. And it like re-triggered that same defense mechanism. And I ended up just like telling her like, hey, that's why that it caused that fight because of this. And she's like, if now that I know that, I will never use that conversation words around you because now I know what it brings up for you. And I was just like, oh my gosh, thank you. Like I didn't even have to ask. I just told her like that's what it reminded me of. And I was assured like, hey, that's not something I want to ever do again.
Yeah.
It was like really, really sweet. And like I know it's not just like I'm shutting you up. I'm gonna say I'm never gonna do it again. It was like I would never want to make you feel that way again.
Yeah.
And it was like such a powerful moment. So thank you for giving me a moment to reflect on like how intentional my relationship is. And I wish this for everyone. I wish like everyone could find a healthy partner. I know it has to be hard, but if you are listening and you are single, there are two things that I want you to do. The first thing is I still want you to consider starting this pre-rec for a relationship with Ash and Dawn and join their, what is the name of the program again?
Queer Love Essentials.
Queer Love Essentials program, because I know for a fact, as someone who's run programs, did different things helping people, whether that's with branding, social media, or dating, I know for a fact that when you get into a group and you take a course, but there's a live component, it is so freaking powerful. It's so different than traditional therapy. You're able to actually like bounce ideas off each other. Like even now, like what we've been doing in this call, I hear something that you guys are getting vulnerable about in your relationship, and it makes me reflect, and it just gives you so much opportunity to repair things before they even become a problem in your relationship.
Yeah. True.
Like adjust for that. And then the second thing I would love for you guys to do, especially if you're coming from my new friends here and you haven't heard of me before, I launched a lesbian dating platform for monogamous queer women. So if you're looking for someone and you feel you're ready, like you've done the work, you're going through programs like this, you feel you're ready for monogamy and really knowing you want to be with one wife for life. And people ask all the time, so if you'd have to be like a lesbian to join, could I be bi? You can be whatever you want to be, but for my platform, knowing you want to be in a monogamous relationship and knowing like you might have attraction to more masculine folks at times, but you know you're ready to like be in it with a woman. Like you're like, I may have dated men in the past, but I'm ready to like live and die with a woman. Like you're clear on that. That's my prerequisite. If you're curious, DM me the word dating and I'd love to tell you more. And how do people get in touch with you guys if they're ready to get into your program? What does that look like?
Yeah. They can go to our Instagram page, and our link to take a look at the course and purchase the course is right there. So it's super easy, super accessible. Anything you want to add on that?
Yeah, or we have our TikTok page, and you can apply to work with us privately if you want as well. Yeah. Those are the two options.
Yeah.
I love it. And what's the handle? Is it the same on Instagram and TikTok?
Yeah. Instagram is Ash and Dawn Noble.
Okay.
And then TikTok is, I think, Queer Love Academy.
Queer Love Academy, yeah.
Queer Couples Academy.
We're rebranding some things, so we're trying to figure out what is what right now. Yeah.
I totally get it. If this podcast comes out, like sometimes the lives will happen like 2 months before the episode comes out. Okay. What would be like the sure handle? Like if they're like, oh, I went to this thing and it like I wasn't, what would be the one thing that won't switch? Is it your website or Instagram handle?
Yeah, the Instagram handle's great. Yeah. Ash and Dawn Noble.
Okay.
Yeah.
Love it.
And then TikTok, I just double checked. It's Queer Couples Academy. So
gotcha.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I have so enjoyed this. Is there any last piece of advice you want to leave with someone who's getting into a relationship and wants to know what's the one secret, what's the one thing to remember, the last thing that you'd leave us with.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I've got one. Do you?
Go, please.
I want you to share yours too.
Yeah.
No, one thing I tell everybody is, hey, real time's too fast. It's too fast, and our nervous systems are responding every millisecond of the day. And so when we bump into those moments, right, where we're moving into conflict, we have to intentionally slow down together, because it goes way too quick. What's something you would add?
Oh, I just think find somebody that wants to to do it with you. Don't settle for somebody that said they don't want to work on the relationship.
Or this is who I am.
Or uses their trauma to excuse behavior. Find somebody. You deserve to be in a safe relationship.
Yes.
So, go for it.
I think that's the parting. Those are the parting words. You deserve to be in a safe relationship. Yeah. Every single last one of you. Yeah.
Oh, so good. That's one of the things that I get most lit up about inside of Queer Country Club. The women who come to the coaching calls, they're in it, they're doing the work, and they're like, I want to be a safe person to be with.
Yes.
I want to be emotionally regulated. I want to attract that into my life. And that's so crazy to see how many people are actually out there doing the work. And I think when we go through something traumatic, at least for me, it was hard for me to visualize there is going to be someone out there who's going to love me and make me feel safe. And that person is out there. There are people out there doing the work.
Yes.
There are good women still out there. So please keep your head up if you're going through something.
Yes.
Or you've been through something where you feel like, I don't know if I'll ever fall in love again. You will. You will.
Yeah. Even when you find that person, it's still conditional. We choose to come home to each other.
Yep.
So take care of your relationship. Take care of each other.
Yeah.
Prioritize it. Yeah.
Yep. Good. Thank you so much.
Sophia. We've enjoyed this.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
It was beautiful. I definitely want to talk to y'all about coming speak inside of Queer Country Club. So that'll be our next conversation.
That would be amazing. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we'd be honored. Truly.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, I think what you have to share, what everyone was saying, this is a prerequisite to a healthy relationship. And so having the women inside who are looking for love, be able to get your wisdom before they find that dream relationship, or maybe right when they're getting into it, that's going to be so valuable. So thank you, ladies.
Yeah,
have an amazing day, and everyone listening, go follow them on Instagram, and I'll see you next time on Queer Women Rising.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
As queer women, that's women with an X, because of course we are inclusive here. As I was saying, as queer women, we haven't always been lifted up or celebrated. We have often felt left out and put down in places that historically haven't welcomed us. In fact, we have been conditioned by society to be grateful for mere tolerance. My resilient LGBTQ+ IA community, I am talking to you. I'll bet you've recognized the spark that God put in your heart, your unique calling to impact the world in only a way that you can. A business idea, a brand to build, a coaching program to start, the art to create, the song to sing, the book to write, that relationship you long to build. But that little light inside your soul has often been blown out by the people around you, leaving you conditioned to play small and not step into your full potential. You are not alone, and it's never too late to truly live your most authentic dream life. I would know. I came out late in life, nearly 30, a couple years ago, after being bullied for months inside a country club. Right outside of my weights class, I was assaulted by a bigoted woman who couldn't stand my queerness. She physically pushed me, so I had a meeting with management. I told them I didn't feel safe. I brought forth evidence, and guess what? They did nothing. Sadly, this is normal. But in order to create change, we have to be brave enough to be the change ourselves. So I did a thing. I started my own virtual country club for queer women. A safe place for us to create meaningful connections and grow. So if you're looking for a love connection, networking opportunities, or coaching to live your best freedom life, you want to apply to be a part of our incredible community of purpose-driven, passionate queer women. Join Queer Women Rising, the online queer country club for growth-minded women ready to level up in life and love. To apply, DM me the word rising on Instagram at SophiaSpallino or chat me the word rising on SophiaSpallino.com. Now, beyond hosting Queer Women Rising, I am a personal brand coach and social media strategist. If you give me a moment to tell you about what I do, I can share how I can help you, just like I've helped many clients before get famous online and make more money. If you're an exhausted coach or service provider, ready to scale your business for real, or you're just getting started building your dream brand from scratch, and if you're ready to build your own profitable personal brand, I can show you how in 6 months or less. But why should you take my word for it? Well, I've spent over 10 years in the social media marketing industry, amassing over 400,000 followers across platforms like Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube, as well as hosting a top charting podcast, building a successful service provider business, and coaching powerful women to build purpose-driven, profitable personal brands. Yeah, I have the social media and sales process strategies that can help you finally make the money you deserve. Because I want to help you build your dream business that gives you time, freedom, and makes real money. So for a limited time, I'm giving away your first steps to go from less than 5K months and advance to 10 to 20K months. Grab my newly revamped Profitable Personal Brand Blueprint, my proven framework to build yourself a personal brand that motivates, inspires, and sells so that your business can thrive the way it should. Just go to the link in the show notes. Whether you're a novice at creating or you're feeling stuck, hitting a plateau in your business that once had consistent revenue, and need guidance, support, and coaching to get to your next level, I invite you to book a strategy call to speak with either me or my team to see if we'd be the right fit to work with each other inside of the Profitable Personal Brand 6-month coaching program. Mind you, I am extremely selective, and this coaching program is not for everyone, and I'm not afraid to say it. I am only taking on serious, purpose-driven, and committed queer women and allies inside of my community. If that's you, book your free strategy call. The link is in the show notes. And if you feel yourself come alive and love listening to Queer Women Rising, please leave me a 5-star rating with a kind review wherever you listen to podcasts. Be sure to share the show with a powerful woman you know. And remember, when you're called to do something greater in life, love, or business, you will be uncomfortable until you move. So get up and go get what you want. Let's rise.